Welcome to the Autosportradio.com 2021 show. This is your host, Don Kay. We are still coming to you from the Grand King Race Shops at 8155 Crawfordsville Road. Today's show is presented by the Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the NTT IndyCar Series, SVRA, McGilvery's Pub and Eatery and Speedway, and the VP Insurance Company. If you think it's time that your roof needs to be inspected and maybe need to be replaced, why not call my IT guy, Ted Holland? You can give Ted a call and give you an appraisal and give you a price, let you know if it does need to be changed. So give him a call. His number is 317-500-3370. And of course, we want to mention that Bob Jenkins, the voice of motorsports for many, many years, the most respected voice and face on television to do with motorsports, passed away a couple of weeks back, 10 days ago. We are sorry to hear that, and it's a huge loss. Do you look forward to going to see your dentist? Most people don't, but if you do, I can tell you how you can. You want to go to the Indy Dental Group. Indy 500 veteran Dr. Jack Miller and his wife, Dr. Liz Lewis, have a spectacular practice. So next time you need to see a dentist or think you should, give them a call, make an appointment. Number is 317-846-6125. My computer guy, Steve Freeze, has an office. He's located at 549 Fleming Street, which is about a mile and a half south or east of Lyndhurst. It's on the north side of the street behind the dental office. So give him a call. If you got a problem, tell him what it is. If you can't get it to the shop, he can come to you. His number is 317-938-7711. Is it time for insurance for your home, your car, or your commercial property? And you want to search around a little bit, like the insurance commissioner says, well, give VP Insurance a call. Talk to Mike Pardee. He can help you. His number is 317-248-0070. Tell him what you need. Let him give you a quote. You'll probably find that you get better coverage for less money. That's VP Insurance, located at 5004 West 16th Street in Speedway. His number is 317-248-0070. Have you ever wondered why do these guys and gals love driving Indy cars at 230 miles an hour? Why don't you find out for yourself? You won't go 230 miles an hour, but you'll travel faster than you've ever traveled in your life. It's an Indy Racing Experience two-seater. You can take a ride at the Speedway or at other tracks around the country. Go to IndyRacingExperience.com, find a date that works for you. There's still 4 races left on the West Coast. So give them a call. Look it up at IndyRacingExperience.com. And if you find a date this year, or even next for that matter, you can put in the promo box DK1 and get a 50% discount, or call Sean in the office. The number is 317-243-7171. Have you ever wanted to get a vintage car, you have one and need it restored? Well, the Grand King shops can help you. Give them a call, tell them what you have or what you're looking for, and they'll help you out. The number is 317-820-3595. And the SVRA is still functioning. Go to svra.com and click on their schedule tab and see where they are. And if they're anywhere that you can get to in an hour or two drive, go. It's a great event. The vintage cars, and of course, Trans Am is now back living well. Go to svra.com and check it out. And while you're there, subscribe to Speed Tour Magazine. It's a fabulous publication. Good stories, good pictures, good news and information. And when you go to an event where you can go to have a good time, it'll tell you there. And some of the drivers that you knew as a kid, they're back driving vintage cars. So check it out. That's svra.com. My guest today is a young gentleman who spent a number of years driving Indy cars, and he worked his way up to get to here. And we'll get into that. But he's from St. Louis. He's in the insurance business at the time, but he was a race driver. And please welcome Robby McGehee. And Robby, thanks for taking the time, because I know that your business takes up a lot of your time, but I appreciate you stopping to have a chat with us.
Well, Don, it's my pleasure. It's really great to see your face and hear your voice again, man. It brings back a lot of memories, and I'm happy to be here, and always happy to take some time away to talk about something I love that I don't really get to talk about that much anymore because I'm busy with other things.
Well, I recall, I think either reading or you telling me that in third grade you wrote a paper, and in that paper you said you wanted to be a professional race car driver. That's true, isn't it?
This is true. This is a neat story, and it was one that I look back and you almost would find it hard to believe that it actually kind of happened the way it did, but it's all real. And I remember specifically, and I remember, you know, I've got the paper somewhere, the original, and I think we had some reprints done just because of the unique story. It was written on that paper, you know, back in the day when, you know, when we learned how to write cursive. I don't know that they do that anymore, but you learned how to write cursive, and you had the paper with the dotted line in the middle. And I wrote something along the lines of, when I grow up, I want to be an Indianapolis racer. I want to go 200 miles an hour, and my favorite drivers are AJ Foyt and Johnny Rutherford, and I want to go faster than a plane. And then I put a little cardboard, you know, a construction paper cut out of a black car, number 15. I never got to be number 15, but I was number 5 and I was number 55. So, and I drove a black car. So I'd say it was a pretty darn good prediction of the future without having any clue what was ahead of me. I was in 3rd grade.
Yeah, well, it came true. And unfortunately, I think because you had a decent career, you went, I think you and your mom went to the Barber School of Racing to learn racing. And if I'm not mistaken, in the F2000 series, you were runner-up one year.
Yeah, so the F2000 series is where I really cut my teeth, and that was, you know, because that was the proving grounds for people who wanted to race in IndyCar, and that was a, you know, I did the school Skippy cars, and I went into Formula 2000, and that was a series where if you wanted to pass somebody, you pretty much had to drive across the grass. I mean, it was like a super competitive series at the time, and I won 4 or 5 races throughout my career there, and I think I finished runner-up in the championship. But you know, that it wasn't one where the IndyCar drivers were definitely looking down and saying, I'm going to pluck somebody from there, because at the time we still had the Toyota Atlantic Series and the Indy Lights Series. But the timing really just happened perfectly for me. Right when I was getting going in racing, you know, Tony and CART had their fallout. They started the IRL. You know, at first everyone says, what's it going to be, this or that? You know, no one's going to go there. These guys, no one's heard of these drivers. But you know what came true was what Tony thought. I mean, I have the Indianapolis 500. That's the marquee event, and that trumps everything else. And it did. So I mean, you know, there were a couple years of the IRL that went by, and I got in '99 because at the time it wasn't any more expensive than going into Indy Lights or Toyota Atlantic, except you have the Indy 500. So you have the opportunity to go raise the right sponsorship. And that was some of the best value, in my opinion, for sponsors early in the days of the IRL, when you could run a whole season for, you know, $1.5 million, $2 million. You know, now I'm sure it's 10 times that. If, you know, you can't even get an engine program for that now. So it was a really novel idea. It's kind of, you know, I think it did, at the time, took its toll on open wheel racing a little bit, gave NASCAR the chance to become, you know, super popular. But you know, it doubled the IndyCar seats, and frankly, I mean, I can almost say for sure that if it didn't happen, I don't know that I would have ever had an opportunity to sit in an IndyCar and go out there and you know, kind of do what I did.
But you know, from the outset, the IRL was competitive. You may not have had the biggest names in the world there, but they had guys like yourself who were competitive, and obviously you did well. I mean, Buddy Lazier won the race. You had some good competitive guys, and you were rookie in 1999. You were Rookie of the Year, which says a lot, because you know, there's still 33 cars. It doesn't matter if they're going, you know, 210 or 217. You know, it doesn't matter. You're still competitive, and you showed you had the ability and the talent, working your way up, and you got there. You qualified and you made it.
You know, yeah, and I appreciate that, Don. Thank you. So I mean, and I used to engage in online forums, whatnot, when people say IRL is not competitive, and I think just the biggest obvious thing is, you know, IRL was competitive because you got Chip Ganassi comes in, and they're like, oh well, he dominated IRL. It's like, well, you know what, he also dominated CART. So right. You know, and then you know, as the Penske's came back in, the Andretti's, I mean, they're good teams, or good, well-funded teams, but I mean, we still had guys on, you know, we're not on well-funded teams, traditional IRL teams like your Treadways or your Panthers. I mean, you know, kicking their butt just as much as they kicked our butt. So I don't subscribe to the fact that, you know, CART had something that the IRL didn't have in terms of talent. I just think you've got to see some new names and some new opportunities of people that didn't come in with either, you know, $1 billion or have a last name, you know, like Andretti. It opened up the door for mostly American drivers. And I, looking back, if you had to say, was it the right thing? I do think it was the right thing, and I'm happy to have participated in it.
Now, you are from the St. Louis area, as I said, and this coming weekend, Saturday night at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock your time, they're running the race there at what was Gateway is now Worldwide Technology Raceway. What's the attitude for people following racing, IndyCar racing in particular? I mean, you know, the owner Curtis as a track, and it seems to me that they promote pretty well between he and Chris. I think they do a nice job of letting the town and the area know that you're there.
Well, that's you hit it. You hit the nail on the head. You know, being from St. Louis, it's always been tough. I mean, even when I got Rookie of the Year, I think I had 1 or 2 pages. There were a couple good guys that wanted to write about racing in the Post-Dispatch at the time. But you know, when you're the home of the championship football team, you know, baseball team, you know, great hockey team, it's you know, it's very much a stick and ball town. But also at the same time, St. Louis has traditionally had some of the best sports fans anywhere in the United States for anything. So I think what Curtis has done is tremendous. I always wanted to see motorsports big in St. Louis because it is my hometown. You know, I think the previous ownership of the track had a real strong focus on getting NASCAR to Madison, Illinois. Well, that kind of misses the point. It's 10 minutes past St. Louis. To not really tap into the St. Louis marketplace, you know, it was an oversight. I mean, I don't know how. I think maybe they tried, but I just don't think they had it right. Where Curtis from St. Louis, you know, he was born and raised here like I was. He knew what it took, so he went over there. He worked a deal to get that track, and he's really reached out. I mean, you could take, you know, it starts with something as simple as, you know, every night you can go there and drive a station wagon down the drag strip if you want. You know, they let people participate. They get people on the track. They reach into St. Louis, and you know, for them, it's a successful business. I think even without, you know, when you buy a track like that, you got to make the numbers work. You know, without IndyCar, without NASCAR, you got to assume that, you know, it has to be able to sustain without that. And he's done that. And then when you add these big races on, it's icing on the cake. And it, you know, it's just kind of a self-fulfilling snowball that continues to grow. Curtis has really done it right. And, you know, it's super exciting that, you know, it's definitely an interesting IndyCar track. I say interesting because it's my home track, and it's never been one of my best tracks. And I can tell you why. It's one of those things. A buddy of mine asked me after I was testing a Treadway car over there, actually Sam Schmidt car. The next day, my buddy came who was running Indy Lights. He said, "Hey, can you shake my car down for me?" Well, I'm used to going into turn 3 at 190 with, you know, big tunnels under the car, a lot of grip. Well, I went out in this Indy Lights car and immediately put it in the turn 4 wall because I went in it basically flat, which felt like I was crawling. Yet you go to turn, and I went to turn, and it's like, oh, I got no grip here. So then you're just doing an ice skate, you know, you're just sliding on ice. One bad, knocked the front wing off, but it got me timid on that course, and I never really recovered from that. But I've run around it. I've had some, you know, top 10 finishes, I think, or a top 10 finish. But it's a neat course. It's different. Turns 1 and 2 are like a road course. It takes a really good, aggressive driver to go fast there. And it's 2 hours from Indy. So, I mean, you can pull from that crowd as well. The last couple of years I've been, I think they've had, you know, you couldn't see a lot of gray in the stands, which is great. I mean, I've spent many years in racing where I've seen, you know, more people on the inside of the track than the outside. And that's absolutely not been the case with Gateway. So it's super exciting for St. Louis, super exciting for Curtis. And I'm excited for it because I'm here.
Yeah, and I think I've had Chris Blair on the program a number of times, and they go out of their way to let people know that we're here and we're bringing the best entertainment to town racing wise, and they've done well. And of course, Curtis isn't foolish. He's got car dealerships scattered around, and if it didn't sell cars, he wouldn't be here.
Yeah, I mean, again, Chris, you mentioned Chris was an absolutely amazing hire for Gateway, and he knows the business well. And Curtis has just assembled a great team over there, to build and develop success. And, when you set your mind to it and you put the effort in, it works. And Gateway is a very clear message of that concept.
Now, I remember when you first came to Indianapolis, I watched you practice and I invited you to come and be a guest on Autosport. And I got the same reaction, believe it or not, I got when I first invited Dan Weldon. They said, "Who in the world is this guy?" I said, "Wait until you see and you meet him." And then you came in and people were impressed. Then I went, when you were I walked in your garage the first year and you're standing in the wall with this blonde standing next to you. And I thought it was your sister. I didn't realize it was your mother. And, we've communicated all over these years, all this time, every so often, your mom and I will, chat what's going on and where she is and so forth. And it's really great to see. And your dad and I, on occasion, we would have a glass of something that had a foam on top. We'd sit and tell stories, and always enjoyed your parents and watching you. And now you're married and you've got triplets. Any members of them say, "Hey, Dad, you know what you did? I want to do it."
Yeah, unfortunately they have. I'm working hard against. I'm promoting hard against that, and you know who I'm fighting against on that one is my mom. For their birthday, we've another great thing at Gateway. They've got those racing go-karts that you can go rent and drive around on, and they can control them and slow you down, but they do they do 65, 70 miles an hour. It's the real deal, right? So we'll take our kids over there for their birthday. We've done it 2 or 3 times, and they've loved it. They've had fun. My son Harry is, "Dad, I want to be a race car driver." It's like, I'm going to let them take every effort to be really good at baseball and hockey and everything else before we start down that road. I frankly, as a father, I look back and think, I have a whole lot more respect for my parents watching me out there, because I would be terrified that my kid would get hurt. I look back and I guess the passion for the sport has to overcome that. Certainly did when I was in the driver's seat, and I had no thought of that. I feel like my life has changed, and I'm on this earth now to protect and look out for my kids and get them to a good place. And you know what? If one of them ends up in a race car, tremendous. I'm going to be their biggest supporter. But for now, they're both very, very good athletes, and they are, they're in club hockey, baseball. My daughter is doing multiple sports, figure skating, and they have fun in the karts, though. And one of these times they're gonna have too much fun, and they're gonna say, "I don't want to wait till next year. I want to go back there tomorrow, and then I want to go back the next day." And we have some friends that are, with kids our age, and their kids are racing competitively over there at Gateway. We've got Margate Karts in town, and Keith has been a big supporter and proponent of that track over there. So they've got garages you can rent, mechanics you can rent, to keep the karts going. So it'll probably happen at some point, but I'm just trying to get them through the get them through the safe route that isn't gonna end them up injured or whatnot. But it's in the blood. So I think we'll see it at some point.
Well, it's probably cheaper overall to buy 3 sets of golf clubs.
I don't think there's even any question on that. I mean, you could buy a golf cart too.
There you go. Going back to your rookie of the year in 1999, your crew chief got hurt pretty seriously. And when you were awarded the rookie of the year, you went right to the hospital and gave it to him. How's Steve doing?
I hear from Steve pretty regularly. And he is, he was a little bit of a crazy man before that happened, in terms of going fast, riding bikes, cars, whatnot. And I don't think that slowed him down much at all. Steve drove through St. Louis, and we sat with him. It was so great to sit with him. I mean, seeing what happened to him was life-changing. The fact that he's back to normal, we kind of joke about the fact that he might not have ever been normal, but he's back to how he was before.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah. And I hear from Steve, he Jen are happy. The biggest thing they've done is they just sold Jen's Corvette from 30 years ago, and I'm kind of following that saga. But Steve is very good about emailing out kind of what he's doing. He's cycling 50 miles. I mean, he's doing everything right. And it's after knowing that he died, came back to life, you know, kind of after I saw it, I can kind of relive it a little bit. I just saw it and I started to go for my buckles thinking the race is over. I can't go drive after seeing that. I mean, you know, we just, our friend and at the time, as you know, it's like a family.
Yeah.
A family member of ours just died. There's no way he's going to live through that. And they pushed me back out, and Linda Conti at the time, and I thank God she did, told me Steve was okay. He was up and, you know, watching the rest of the race and, you know, from the hospital, which wasn't, of course, true, but it needed to be true for me to get to the end of that race. And, you know, it was the only thing I think about. Anything we did that day was, you know, was dedicated to Steve, because that was all that really mattered. And then we could really start, you know, thinking about enjoying it. And, you know, once we knew he was on the upswing and he was going to survive, and, you know, he was conscious, and he was going to survive. We knew it. So then, you know, then it became a good day a few days later, obviously.
Well, you know, it's interesting. You had 38 starts in the IRL and IndyCar. You had 11 top 10 finishes and 4 top 5. That's not too bad for the teams you drove for, which were not top of the line. You had a team that worked hard, gave you a car you could drive, and fortunately you had schooling and knew how to drive it, and you got some decent results.
Yeah, I mean, I look back and you know, you have these, you take things for granted when they're happening, right? So, you know, when Dave and I came into IndyCar, you know, we did this together. Dave Conti was my guy in Formula 2000. I was comfortable with him. He was comfortable with me. He had the right connections within the IndyCar series to know how to engineer a car and get it set up so at least, you know, it works a little bit. You know, we didn't have parts going off to NASA the night before the Indy 500 like Penske, I heard, did to get X-rayed and all that stuff, but we had a car that I could drive. And you know, the next year is when we did the deal with Treadway. And I just remember, you know, thinking how easy it is to drive a good car versus, you know, easy it is to drive a good car fast. You know, it's way easier than driving a bad car slow. And, you know, I've had, I'd say of those 38 races, I had 5 cars that I wanted to get out of the car and walk away. And I told the crew, I'm going to crash if you keep me out here. So you make the call. You want me to come in or you want me to crash? You gave me a pile of turd here that's going to put me in the wall. And that was 5 times. One of those times was on the best team, Treadway. I remember Colorado Springs, and I remember they must have gotten their ideas from Panther, because Scott Goodyear was directly ahead of me, and we were about 20 miles per hour off the pace, you know, going sideways through the whole thing together. And I think we both knew we were screwed. And those are 2 of the best teams in the IRL. And then a couple of the other ones. I mean, you know, when I ran the 500 with PDM in 2003, we had to come in under green because it was just it wasn't going to be good. But then, you know, I look back and it was so easy to finish 4th with Treadway. I'm cruising around. I feel like I'm lifting. I feel like I'm hardly driving. When I first got with Treadway, I really gelled with Jeff Britton, the engineer at the time. We determined that I really liked a soft car, which most drivers don't like, because a soft car takes a big set in the corner, and that big set feels like you're getting loose. It just takes you know, the right rear sets. And then once it's set, man, it's stabler than hell. And I remember the first race in Phoenix. I mean, I was just kicking butt. It was so easy for me. Of course, I was kind of dumb. I crashed out of the lead of that race. I was just going through turn 1. I think I pulled the whole field. It was pulling away, and instead of just chilling, I just kept trying to pull away. And ultimately, you know, a fast car is a loose car, and ended up in the turn 2 wall. Not hard, but I just look back and think, if I knew what I knew now, or at least towards the end of my career, about the car that I had, you know, in my second year when I was running with Treadway, I think I would have won. You know, I think I would have played it smarter and would have won a championship or more races, because it was easy to finish in the top 5 almost every single time, because we had a good car. And then, you know, running with Larry was tremendous. Larry Cahill and his family kind of became our family. It was I loved working with Larry. He he was a guy that I feel that got left behind. When I really wish some way, and I'm not a socialism guy by any means, but guys like Larry, Fred Treadway, John Barnes, who kept the IRL what it was, just faded away like that. And that was disappointing to me that happened, because they spent a ton of money, and ton of passion, ton of heart, and then 1 year they're just gone. I don't know that there's anything you could have done about it, but I hated to see that. And I don't know if any of those legacy teams are still around right now. I pulled for Ed Carpenter, his team, because he kind of reminds me of those days. But you can help me out there. Any of those teams around that? I don't know that they are.
No, I don't think. I know Fred Treadway's, I believe, down in Florida, and I've seen him off and on over the years. He still comes up here once in a while.
Yeah, I stay in touch with with Fred and Ricky. I think they're just enjoying themselves and working, riding motorcycles, whatnot, down in Florida. But it bums me out that those guys put all that money into the IRL and they're not still there. And they had the teams, they had the talent. I mean, obviously Ari, that was a fun year getting to work with him. But anyway, sorry, I'm not sure where I was going.
Well, now that you've put your helmet on the mantle and retired, you're in the business that your dad has been in for many years, and that's the insurance business. And how is that going?
I'll just hit on it for 1 second. I mean, so I knew that when I was in racing, I loved what I was doing, but it was never the end all for me. It was a continuation of living a childhood dream, and really going out there and I just feel so blessed that happened. But I made it. I knew early on. My parents always made me stay in school, and you can race, but you're gonna have to do something afterwards. I knew all along there was going to be another chapter. So when 2003, 2004, I raced the 500 only. That's akin to showing up for a Super Bowl without playing all season. And it's not it's good, it's fun, whatever. But that one, I didn't want to keep doing that. I didn't want to be standing there with my helmet in my hand, walking, hoping for a ride. I think when I was done, I made a pretty distinct cold turkey effort. All right, I'm out. I'm done. I'm going to focus 100% on something else. And my dad had been in the insurance business. My formal education was IT, networking technology and infrastructure and that sort. So I kind of just went into my dad's office and I was their IT guy. And then, throughout the final years of my racing career, I put together a couple insurance deals, which kind of funded, with Larry, with we could go and say, hey, if you place your insurance with us, the commission's not going to go in someone's pocket to go join a golf club. It's going to go on the side of a race car. So I learned about insurance that way on a sort of B2B basis, and it worked a little bit. But I think it was 2004. I said, I'm going to go into this full time. I got I just kind of I've been hanging in. I'd always officed out of the insurance brokerage. I picked up on things. I worked on some accounts, and I really just went in and just dove in and said, I'm going to learn this business, and I did. So 2004, my dad sold his company, Huntley McGehee, to another gentleman who is a friend of mine. And we're close to them, but you had mentioned Huntley McGehee earlier. We're not Huntley McGehee. We're Smith McGehee now. So in 2011. My dad and I started Smith McGehee, which is funny because most people would think there's a guy with the last name Smith and a guy with the last name McGehee. Not that it was, we kind of, as a tribute to him, used his whole name because he's an icon around St. Louis in our industry. And 2015, we built that up. He's semi-retired, but a guy like us guys in the insurance business, we never really retire because just we're programmed to do this. We're just programmed to do insurance. In 2013, Greg Williams came down and met with us. In 2015, we ended up doing a deal with them. So we're part of a much larger company now. And I love it. I mean, I love doing what I do. It's, I can do the stuff in the weeds and I can do whatever I need to do there, but what I love and what I crave is getting deals done. We work with multiple big global real estate developers that, this isn't, hey, can I insure your car? This is, how do we structure a program to manage the $500 million of, funds that you're going to use on development at this location. So I get very entrenched in that. They're big deals, and I'm competing every single time. I still have, I think, a lot of what I came from in racing, which probably came from somewhere earlier than that, is the competitive, the competitive spirit to win, and to put the effort in, even though it's not fun. It's trying. It's 10-hour days. It's but it's all worth it. At the end when you win. So have had a great career so far. I'm 48, so it's nowhere near done. We're still growing, with the bigger company Acrisure now, and I love going to work every day. I still do. There's days where I don't want to go, but because as whoever, I think you're familiar with the concept that, well, I don't, maybe not, but shit rolls uphill. So when bad things happen, I'm always the one who ends up dealing with it. But excuse my French, by the way. I don't know if this is a PG show or not, but most of my days, I love going into the office. I love what I do. I love my team. And I love being part of the company we're with now, because it makes it a lot easier to keep dialing in big wins.
Well, when I first met you, you're just a young guy having fun driving race cars, showing the ability to give me the car and I could drive it. And the thing that's interesting, the comment you made, it's always been amazing to me, and I've said this 1,000 times. You can get in a car and say, geez Louise, how in the world does this thing stay in a racetrack? And somebody else get in and said, it's perfect. So no two drivers, like no two people are alike. So, you like it one way, somebody else likes it another way. You get the cars you like and you're competitive with each other, even though the cars don't handle the same. So I found it interesting. You've always been very cooperative. Whenever I've asked you, invited you on the program, you've done it. I don't see you as often as I used to, obviously. I think the last time I saw you was a couple of years ago at the Speedway. Your mom and dad were there. That's the last time I've seen them, actually. So it's a pleasure to talk to you. I know the competitive spirit that I saw as a driver, I'm sure you take to the office every day. If there's a way to win, you're going to win. If it takes an extra 3 hours to get the first, that's what I'll take. That's what I'll do. And I'm sure your kids are going to adopt the same thing from you, and they're going to be hugely successful, be it in racing, which you hope it's not, maybe in golf or in a swim team or somewhere else. But it's a pleasure to talk to you. I appreciate you taking the time, because I know you're very busy, as I've heard from the owner of the company you work with. So tell your mom and dad I said hello. Tell Norma I said hello. And thanks for talking to it. And one of these days, believe it or not, there'll be a knock on your door. It'll be me again.
Well, you know what? I'm happy to do it. You never have to ask twice. I mean, I don't have a ton of opportunities to talk about racing specifically with someone who really knows so much about the sport, and somebody you're very much been a part of my past. So I love it. So whenever you need me, whenever I can add value or give you something to put on the air, call me. I'm as easy as a text message away. I appreciate you having me on, and it's always great to talk with you. Thanks
for your time. Good to talk to you. And again, you'll hear from me somewhere along the line, out of nowhere. You'll say, oh, it's him again. Well, thanks, Robby. And I hope you will be attending the race, I'm sure. And your mom said she's going. I don't know if your dad is, but so it'll be a good race, and look forward to having fun down there. Thanks for your time.
All right, my friend. Thanks, Don. Good to see you.
Appreciate it.